Next time y'all see me, I will have a jump shot. I will have a jump shot.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Welcome back to another episode of Hawksology. It's about time that we have enough of those off-season training videos, plus a couple that I got from AEBL, that we can finally take a deep dive and break down Onyeka Okongwu's jump shot, something that as Hawks fans, we should all be excited for going into next season. Of course, there's no way of knowing what exactly it's going to be like in game, or even just the kinds of shots or number of shots that he's going to get or even want to take outside of the paint. Whatever we look at today, just know I'm not here to tell y'all whether his shot is really, really good or really, really bad. That's just something that we're going to have to find out in the context of actual games during the season. So let's get right into it. We'll take a look at this clip first from overtime, and let's talk about the base. Starting with, you guys see that little 1-2 step into his shot. Lots of the top tier shooters at least get 1 foot planted on the catch, but this video shows that the 1-2 step is working just fine for Big O. Not having a foot planted though on the catch is going to just slow down his shot a bit. That footwork might be what they're working on here. Take a look at these two clips. This first one, see how his left leg is almost behind his right leg, and when he catches, then he has to bring that leg all the way up. Yeah, compare that to this clip where that left leg is so much closer to being planted. The more he can close down that window between catching the ball and getting that left foot planted and also loading up that hip, the more he can cut off the time that it takes for him to get his shot off. And so moving to the right leg now, which you can see coming in, notice how he starts rising up into his set point, oftentimes before that right foot is even planted. From a timing standpoint and also a mechanical standpoint, this can create a couple of inconsistencies as he loads up. Watch as his knee kind of just like snaps back like that. He's loading it up to be his power source on his right side, when instead he should be properly loading the hip. And we discussed that in the last video when we spoke about the dip. But the faulty mechanics of an abrupt, jagged motion like that are not ideal for consistency and potentially also not ideal for the health of his knee. If he could instead get set with at least one hip loaded up on the catch and only have to focus on loading the other hip up as he gathers, it would help his legs push more evenly and therefore allow for more consistency in calculating the power and timing of his shot. And also, he'd be able to just catch, load up, and shoot instead of taking the extra time to plant his feet. With this base, though, he maintains balance throughout the shot. It looks like he's landing on both feet, does not drift left or right, and isn't leaning forward or back. And so as we move up in his shot, take a look at how he keeps the ball in relatively tight and close to his body as he rises up and then releases. That's something that will not only help him to avoid getting blocked or stripped, but it will actually also help the path of the ball be solid and straight. Having that straight path to his set point will help him avoid missing left and right. But notice how he's doing this more towards the left side of his body. Here especially, you can see that that right forearm is bending in. And plus his hand doesn't even get under the ball into the very last second of that release, where that right forearm is now suddenly straight. This means at some point in his shot, the path of the ball is shifting to the right. Like we saw a second ago, that's not happening as he gets to his set point. It's actually happening on his release, which is kind of interesting. This is where we're going to take a look at his left hand, his guide hand, which is actually kind of under the ball. The guide hand is really just to stabilize the ball on top of the shooting hand, but if we look really closely, you can see that Onyeka actually pushes a tiny bit with his guide hand into his shooting hand as he releases. It's definitely a bit of an unnatural motion, but that slight push allows his right hand to get fully under the ball so that he can release, and for the most part with a straight path. That's still an extra step of the shot, and it ever so slightly shifts the path of the ball laterally just before his release, which opens up a tiny bit of room for inconsistency. It also affects the rotation of the ball, and this clip gives us a great angle of that because we can track it with the Wilson logo, which even in this frame is just pointing right at the camera. Let's start with this frame though, and if you guys look just above Onyeka's head, that blue speck is the Wilson logo pointing up and to the right. Keep an eye on his left hand and how it extends as we go over a couple frames. By there, not only is that left hand now fully extended, but that Wilson logo has straightened out. That's that push from his left hand putting some side spin on the ball. As we continue, that logo goes from straight coming off of his right hand to over here being nearly vertical. Pay attention to the logo on this ball, and we can see it here too, in just these 2 frames. This small push with his guide hand isn't the most ideal thing, but on the flip side, it's a way for him to get his right hand under the ball and straighten out his right forearm so that the ball is getting released onto a straight path. He keeps his forearms pretty solid too, which already cuts down the chances of left and right misses. But still, that push makes it hard to conceptualize things like finger placement because his right hand's not even completely under the ball until the very last second of his release. After that, he follows through straight and he lands on balance. I mean, he's been drilling most of the shots in these videos. And I've picked out a lot of details that I said could lead to some inconsistencies, but this is still the jump shot of an NBA player who's been training to expand his range for next season. I personally would recommend for Onyeka to just shift everything to the right, kind of from the start, just get his shooting hand under the ball, allow his guide hand to focus more on being that stabilizer on the side of the ball and not be under the ball and pushing. And of course, remember up through his set point that the ball is just positioned more towards the left side of the body. Simply shifting that would allow him to straighten his shooting arm and have his weight distributed much more equally, which would allow him to also properly set his hips and just fix those inconsistencies with his base and his load-up. Again though, he's got some of the best trainers out there, and hopefully we're looking at the beginning to a whole new component of Onyeka's offensive contributions. Well, in other words, it would be sweet to see him light it up this season. But that's all we got for this episode of Hawksology. I got slowed down a bit since school just started back up, but I'm chilling now, so expect more awesome Hawksology content on the way very soon. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, and also let me know what you think of Onyeka's jump shot. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, we'll catch you next time.